All right, we're at this point. A friend of mine, Dennis, brought over his expensive analyzing kit, and we came to the conclusion that we're going to need a reprogram of the ignition key. I've only got one key, and to help the situation out, he took out the aftermarket auto start and hooked everything back in. But as you can see at this point, we still have a security light, and we also have the throttle body light. So we're going to try something that one of the techs at the Dodge dealership shared with me. He said, put the key back in and turn the system on and leave it on for at least 90 minutes. And if you're lucky, your security light will go out. So that's where we're at right now. Well, I've only had the key on for a half hour, no, 20 minutes at this point. He says, of course, make sure you have your battery charger on it. So that's where we are at this point. Again, what I did is I changed out the tipping because I couldn't get it to crank. I checked all my grounds and everything, and I suspected it was the tipping. So put the new tipping in, but what I failed to do is ground the positive and negative wires together for, they want 12 hours, 24 hours to get all your capacitors grounded out. So put the new tipping in. I still didn't have a crank, and I couldn't control the wiper blades, and I wasn't able to get the locks to lock all the way around with the manual. I assume that the tipping that I got was bad. What is this cough? Only 35 degrees out, but still. Anyway, so I went ahead and put the old tipping back in, and went to plug it back in, went to turn the key, still, of course, nothing. And then I went to check make sure the key was activating all the doors and horn and all that stuff. And then I noticed that the red security light, which I didn't have before, was on. And right then and there, the minute that does it, it shuts everything down. And you can override your starter and get spark, but you're not going to be able to get your fuel injectors to fire. So this may be my whole problem to begin with. Now, when I first got this vehicle, I couldn't get it to crank either. And come to find out, this little box, this little gray box right here, was missing. Well, you can have the key, but if that box is missing, because these are synced together, it's not gonna crank. So I went down to Wilbert's and I got another one. Well, still couldn't get it to crank. And of course, because those are not mated, not going to work. So I went down and I got the whole assembly here. That with the key, your tumbler system, bracket, and of course your starting control box. And plugged it in and didn't get no crank, but I didn't have a security light. And I was able to control everything with the key. I could unlock it, lock it, set off the panic and all that stuff. So there was no problem there. But still did not have a crank. So that's where I got into troubleshooting to a point where it's probably a Tippum. So changing out the Tippum, and I forgot a step, and that probably screwed me completely up. So because I didn't ground those out for 24 hours. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to wait another 2 hours, another hour and a half or so. And we will see if that light goes out. If not, this is going to get a trip down to the dealer, unfortunately. And they're going to have to plug this in and see if they can reset the system and give us a second key. So that's where I'm at. Stay tuned. All right, we're back. And after all that mess, I still can't get the security light to go out. So we're not in good shape. You need a second key to make this system work properly. I even stuck in the new Tippum. Man, that's hot. I stuck in the new Tippum again. We grounded out your cables for 24 hours actually this time around, and then I just put the new Tippum in, or the new used one, hoping that it might reset everything. But as you can see, this is what I got. You got the security light on, and it will not. I can't get it to reset no matter what I do. Story behind this is the minute I changed out that Tippum, the new Tippum for the old one, the security light went on. I mean, what I've done is I did change the whole start cylinder system off of another Nitro. You got to make sure that box goes with that key to begin with, okay? So when I got the vehicle, that box was missing, which means you're not going to get a box to mate with that key unless you have it programmed. So I got it out of another Nitro that had the key and that box. So I took the whole thing with the ignition switch, which is right here. I took the whole assembly, as you saw in that last video. So when I plugged it all in, everything was fine. I was able to unlock it, lock it, control the horn and all that stuff, and my security light was out. So I didn't have that problem, but I still could not crank it. If I jumped the starter, I had spark, but I did not have the fuel injection. And part of the fuel injection is controlled or is shut off when this when that kicks on. Okay, so I'm kind of at a point where I don't know why I didn't have crank, and now I know why I don't have fuel injection. So that was what I was trying to troubleshoot, is the no crank situation. But then I checked further on, I didn't have fuel injection either. So from what I understand, you can have a lockout situation without seeing that light. And if that's true, then, but I don't think I don't think that having that light will keep you from cranking it. I think you do now. But if you don't have that light, I think it'll crank. You have that Thunderbolt, which is part of your throttle body, but that may still be on anyway until you start it up. So that's where I'm at. Looks like I'm going to have to take this down to the dealer. I was told that if I put power on, turn the key on just like it is right now, and let it set for at least 90 minutes, an hour and a half, it may reset itself. Well, unfortunately, yesterday, when I did that, it didn't reset itself. And that's kind of the last resort. You're going to have to take it down to the dealer. Going to have to get another key. They'll give you another key, program that too, and go from there. But he quoted me $300 to get that done. And the other thing is you got to get this towed down there. So I'm going to have to get the trailer bed off of my car dolly and tow this puppy down there for them to do it. So that's where I'm at. I'm at a dead end right now with getting this. It's actually an 07 after all. 07 Dodge Nitro. After its engine change. Back on the road. Okay, we're back. And we went shopping. So we've been gone. We left at 1 o'clock. It's now 4 o'clock. So I did it again. I went ahead and put the original Tippum back in. And I went ahead and plugged everything back in. I went ahead and put a battery charger on the batteries, so I knew it wasn't going to drain the battery while I was gone. And I did like one of the techs said to try was to turn your key on and let it set for at least 90 minutes. So I've just gotten back. I can see the lights are still on inside. So I'm going to walk in. I'm going to look and see if the red light went out. Right now I see the throttle body light. And do we see yep. It's still on. So it has not reset itself. So unfortunately, that means it's got to be dragged down to the dealership and have them put it on the machine and see what and supposedly reprogram it with a second key. It did not come didn't come with a second key, and that's one of the problems right there. So even if you get a vehicle without a second key and you want to get a second key, you're going to have to take it down to them and then have them reprogram it or program a key. But in that case, the vehicle's already running. So that might be a different step than what's going to happen here. Because unfortunately, what's needed, if you have a Snap-on or a Mac or any of the other computers that are capable of resetting, you got to have a 3-digit code that only the dealer can get, or is set to the vehicle by the VIN. So that's where I'm at. So, all right, I just got off the phone with the dealership. I talked to another mechanic. He's looking at three different scenarios we got to deal with. The ignition, the key ignition with that module system. Maybe have a bad tip 'em. And what's the other thing? Oh, and then just trying to clear the security system. So at this point, they can't get me in till Thursday of next week. Maybe earlier if I get it down to them earlier. So I'll probably be taking this down sometime either Monday or Tuesday of next week. This will give me a chance to get some of the exhaust, get the exhaust hooked back up on it, get it all back together as much as possible, and then when they get in there, they can go from there. Oh, and he was thinking maybe another PCM. So that's possible too. What I might want to do is see if I can pull those plugs off of there, make sure we don't have any corrosion or anything on them. So between the TIPM, PCM, and the ignition switch, or should I say the security system, those are what they're going to be looking at $125 an hour. But of course, they have the technicians that should know exactly what they're doing, and they have the computer system that should be able to tell them exactly what's going on in a decent amount of time. And there we go. So keep you up to date. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, definitely share, and we will catch you on the next Crosby's Garage Project Nitro.